Hi, everybody. This is Anne Marie with Light Happy Life. I'm super excited to be here today with Casey Berglund, who's the founder of worthyandwell.com. Casey is a nutrition and an expert in amazing ways to eat healthy and to get control of your food in your life. So, hey, Casey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you?
I'm good. So, Casey,
Good.
let's dive in. And I just want to hear, what's your story? Like, how did you get involved in your journey onto nutrition and to helping busy, stressed out women eat well?
I usually respond to that question with another question, like, how far back do you want me to go? So I think our stories, when it comes to our relationship with food in particular, they start at a young age for most people. We all have stories about our relationship with food because we start eating from, like shortly after we're born, right? So for me, I grew up on a farm in Saskatchewan, Canada, so a really rural community. And gratefully, I was always connected to food. I knew where my food came from. My family grew organic crops and we had big gardens. And so growing up, I was just a little tyke and I would plant the garden with my mom and, watch her bake bread and, do all these wonderful things with food. So my relationship with food as a kid was great. And then there came a point when I was about 11 or 12 where there was just a lot of stress in my family and my mom got sick. And at that time, as a people pleaser, fixer type, I jumped in and I started cooking for my family. I kind of took over my mom's role in feeding my family and the hired hands. And again, I was quite young. So at this point, I really enjoyed and learned that I loved cooking, but it was also a moment where I started to have a little bit of a disordered relationship with food, where I would obsess about what went into my mouth because of the stress in my life and the chaos. I think I took to controlling my food intake and my body size as a way of just, feeling a little bit calm, like kind of falsely calm.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was an interesting time where I was consuming a lot of, at that time, magazines, fad diet books, reading a lot about nutrition and developing this really all or none relationship with food, where I felt like there were good foods and bad foods. And if I ate the good foods, I was being good. If I ate the bad foods, I was being bad. And I mean, this is me as an 11 or 12-year-old girl. So I was enjoying cooking for my family, but very much restricting my own intake and engaging in some of those disordered eating behaviors. Because I was in a rural community, there wasn't really the structures and systems for support for that. It felt like I didn't know what a dietitian was, just, like what I do now. So that's really where it all began. And then I started to heal that relationship with food after, actually a sporting event. I was always very athletic, and I lost a track and field event to a girl I always beat every other year. And it was like this kind of light bulb moment where I was like, wow, I'm doing something that's negatively impacting my body. And I think I was just kind of a smart, resilient kid. And I knew that what I was doing wasn't serving me. So fast forward a few years, I think throughout high school, it was like kind of shifting how I was eating, but I was still stuck in those mindsets of like needing to restrict, fear of gaining weight, worrying about like if my weight gain would ever stop. And there was just a lot of chaos in what I now know to call like the monkey mind.
Yes.
Yeah. And so after high school, I decided to do my degree in nutrition. And, I think a lot of people who are dietitians or do a nutrition degree, sometimes they have a story similar to mine where it starts with a bit of a disordered relationship with food, but there's this general interest in food and nutrition. And so basically, I did my degree in nutrition, and learning about the science of food and eating helped me to really realize, wow, like food plays a role in fuel, but we also have to really critically look at the information that we're taking in. And I realized, all of this information I was taking in as a youth, it wasn't really credible. And so learning how to credibly look at nutrition information online or in books or even in science was really helpful for me starting to question that info. And then at some point in there, I fell in love with yoga, and it really shifted how I perceived myself. And it was the thing that helped me to be more mindful. And I know you have a question coming about the moment that changed everything. So I'm going to save this part for you. But through doing my degree in nutrition and practicing yoga and becoming a yoga teacher and figuring out how to integrate some of these Eastern philosophies with Western science, I really have found a solution to helping women with their struggles with relationship with food and body. And, as a new dietitian, I was talking to people all the time about what they were eating, and lots of people wanted weight loss and wanted these different outcomes. And there was kind of this common thread of having almost to a certain extent, a disordered relationship with food and stressful thoughts and behaviors around food and body image issues. And so this is something that really resonated with me. And now through Worthy and Well, I'm really grateful and proud that I'm able to serve smart, soulful women and help them to feel free in their relationship with food and their bodies. Because I think if you can release that space, the space that we kind of take up with these obsessive thoughts about food and changing our bodies, we could do so much more in the world, be better leaders, mothers, lovers, friends, just being more present with what really matters. So that's what I'm all about now. And that's really the mission of Worthy and Well, which is my business.
That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Yes, so here's the question. So what is the one moment that actually changed your perspective and your approach and relationship with food? And you talk about yoga. I'm also a yoga instructor. So the same ideas resonate with us. Everybody finds once you start down the path, you might go into it for the physical, and then all of a sudden you have these awakening moments. So if you mind sharing what yours is.
So we'll just kind of shine a light on that little piece that I quickly moved through. So, I must say that doing a degree in nutrition and learning about nutrition science started this healing, and that helped. And I don't know if there was one single moment, but probably a series of moments that just deepened this change. But one moment in particular that I can recall does have to do with yoga. And I will say, when I started yoga, I didn't actually love it because I didn't think I was burning enough calories or getting enough of a workout, which I think is a common story for many people. But the moment that changed was actually a specific instructor that led this class that was very physical. And because I'd always been a very physical person, I enjoyed the challenge of the class. But there was this element that she brought to the class that was deeper. There was a soulfulness. And I think she really did an amazing job of dropping in yoga philosophy and just, I don't even remember what she said specifically, but a combination of being exhausted in the physical practice of the class and hearing about, how we relate with our thoughts and about just yoga philosophy and how we kind of self-sabotage. It really made me realize that my perfectionism and people pleasing and A-type personality was actually not serving me in a lot of ways. And at the end of that class, I was laying in Shavasana, the final resting pose. And it was the first time that I felt that yoga bliss, we kind of call it as yoga teachers, just that a sense of relaxation that's so deep and a connection with yourself. Yes. And so that really started me, craving, I guess, more of that feeling or wanting to explore that more. And then through that moment in yoga and doing more yoga, I really learned about mindfulness and how mindfulness and present moment awareness and just working towards being more present can allow you the freedom to just enjoy food or enjoy your body's movements instead of always trying to make things different than they are,
Right. Trying to force it through versus being okay with where you're at and what your choices are. Right. So what's your favorite mindfulness tips for eating healthy?
For eating? Ooh. We were talking earlier about my 10-day mindful eating kickstart where I have kind of a daily tip, and I was like, oh, should I choose one of those? Should I choose a different one? I would say what I've kind of been thinking about right now is for at least one meal in the day or one snack or your morning coffee, sit down and eat without distractions. And it sounds simple when I say it. Of course you could do that for one meal or snack in the day, but it's actually probably one of the hardest ones to practice when we're on the go. But it can really bring that sense of calm and peacefulness. And even from a digestion perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When we're relaxed while we're eating, we get more nutrients from our food, and we experience less of some of those symptoms like bloating and gas. Like sometimes we're running out of the house and eating, and doesn't necessarily serve our digestion. So sit and eat without distractions for at least one meal or snack or coffee in the day.
That's amazing. You're right. It's one of those things where if I think about, you just, you grab coffee, you get a room of coffee, we're getting ready, you grab a bite of toast, then you go back and do something else, right? Even if it's healthy, a whole grain avocado toast, like you're still running around, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's a great tip. So what do you think your secret to making a health change that lasts would be?
Pleasure. So often I'll hear from people that, like this plan was going so well. I was like following the plan. I was making things happen. And then I totally fell off the wagon. It's a really common story. And I think what's missing in many health and wellness programs is the importance of pleasure and satisfaction in the changes that you're making. So if you don't like what you're doing, it's not going to last. So you have to think when you're exploring a new way of eating, a new diet plan, a new way of exercising, is this something that I can happily follow forever? Or is this something that I can learn to love and happily follow forever? So that pleasure piece is important. And even just like satisfaction in a meal, like if you're satisfied by having like a colorful dish that's got different textures, different flavors, that's going to be more satisfying, and it's actually going to lead to probably eating less, not necessarily craving the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
That's wonderful, because so often in food, in diet, we don't think about pleasure, right? It's about sort of the science of it. Like, how do I eat X number of proteins, carbs, and to get to where I need to be? But you don't think about food is pleasure.
Yeah. It's like if you're willing your way through a plan or feeling like you have to rely on willpower taps out at some point, and that's where the falling off the wagon happens. But if you enjoy the journey and enjoy every step of the way and kind of shift your mindset so that it doesn't have to be this grueling, miserable task, that's going to lead to longer lasting changes for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So here's the question I'm asking everyone at the end is, what is your secret to a light, happy life?
My secret. So I think it's aligning your actions and your goals with how you want to feel. So this is something I've really been exploring in the last couple of years. Often we set goals based on someone else's expectations of us. Kind of like externally driven goals, when we set goals, what we're craving is the feeling that we think the goal will bring us.
Yeah.
And so why not start with the feeling? So for example, my feeling words this year are radiantly feminine, grounded in joy, and free. And so when I tap into those words every day and I act in a way that makes me feel those things, I feel light and happy. It's good. I'm able to say no to the things that I know will not make me feel the way I want to feel. So I really think getting clear with how you want to feel can be really helpful.
That's awesome. You just lit up on camera when you said your words.
I'm shivering. Yes. Yeah, they mean a lot to me. And I think that's the thing is definitely picking words that have that meaning, that light you up, that make you kind of feel bright.
Oh, that's wonderful. Casey, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you joining us. And everybody check out Worthy and Well for Casey's 10-day mindful eating kickstart. And you also have some recipes up there too, right?
Well, I have a toolkit. So a mindful meal planning made easy toolkit. So it's awesome. It's got a bunch of my like kind of top 5 tools for specific types of, recipes, meal planning, grocery, cost saving. So all kinds of tools that are helpful to use for making mindful meal planning easy.
That's great. Wonderful resources. Thank you so much, Casey. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Take care.
Take care.